Welcome everyone to another Japanese episode of the Caravan Tour of Terror, a show that finds us touring the globe through the medium of horrific, chilling and disturbing entertainment. My name's Donald and I'm the driver on this quest. Joining me at my side, as always, with a road atlas on his lap and a lighter in his... Sorry, I've forgotten what I was saying. Oh, it's my navigator Ali. Say hello, Ali.
Hello, Donald.
Okay.
Are you feeling sleepy today?
I don't like that tone of voice, I will say. It's particularly creepy. So we're still in Japan. Right now we're bumming around Tokyo. Lucky for us, we have more than one friend who's madly obsessed with Japan. Weebs, obviously. So they've given us plenty of recommendations for maid cafes, soap lands. Not sure what they are, but pick up a nice...
We won't be taking them up on any of that.
Well, I thought I could get a nice scented soap for my wife, so we could...
Yeah, that's what Soapland is. It's
Yeah.
the same as M&M World in London.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, yeah. You know, nice Japanese scented soaps.
Yeah,
And-
like those weird duck shops.
Yeah, and then get a bacon roll and a cup of tea or coffee. It's the maid cafe. It's fine, right?
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, good.
I just, before we go to the maid cafe, I'm just going to shine my shoes.
Oh, dear.
Took you a minute.
Dear.
It's apparently rife there.
Oh, dear. Well, why are we here? We're talking about Cure, a 1997 film directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who you may know as the director of, I would argue, a more well-known J-horror film called Pulse. We've watched
Yes.
Pulse. Do you remember Pulse?
We have watched.
You
I do
didn't
remember
like it.
Pulse. No,
I didn't.
like it. You did. I didn't.
So...
That's...
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do Pulse sometime. So Cure is less well known in the West, I'd say. It's fair to say. But it is widely held by people unknown, according to the internet, that it is originator, I think the wiki says progenitor of the J-horror movement of the late 90s, early 90s. So Ali, normally I'd start us off and say... You know, let's go through, tell us about the film, and then we'll kind of do it like, we'll go through the film very linearly. I would say, for this film, I would find it more useful to basically go spoilers whenever the hell after a brief Blu-ray style plot synopsis, if only because when I think about trying to discuss this film, I think I'd spoil it quite a lot. So I don't really want to try and work through the plot quite linearly because I won't manage it. I'm just telling you I won't manage it. So
that's fair. Let's see if I can do a Blu-ray style synopsis.
Just to grab them. Yeah, just to grab them. If you're listening and you're like, but I don't know if I want to watch this film and I don't want to get spoiled. So if you should watch this film if you're if Ali's excellent synopsis interests you, or if you're a fan of J-horror and you've maybe seen the big hitters like The Ring and The Grudge, Pulse, if you've maybe seen other ones like One Missed Call and Nori the Curse, these are usually ones that get recommended as like further movies, and you're like, I like all these, I'm interested in this. Then I think
you're throwing in all the what else you should watch now rather than...
That's true. But if you've seen them and you like them, yeah, you should watch Cure. But if for nothing else, that it's got that reputation and you can see what you make of it, because it is not a J-horror film, but it is credited as kind of established. It paved the way for those kind of things. It doesn't have ghosts in it, I will say that.
No.
And
Yes.
all the films I've mentioned there have ghosts in them. And I think ghosts is an absolute intrinsic part of J-horror films that I can think of. So I wouldn't say it quite fits that bracket, but it's an interesting curiosity piece.
It's, I mean, if we're just doing this bit now, I might as well jump in. Like, it's... I'm sure Donald might roll his eyes at this, but if on the non-Japanese side, you might like this. If you like, movies like Seven, movies like even something like Nightcrawler, he's rolling his entire body rather than his eyes.
No, I mentioned Seven later on. It's fine.
Yeah. It's a interesting mix between a kind of noir thriller and horror.
Yeah.
Or J-horror. So let me try and briefly.
Go on.
The movie follows Kenichi Takabe, a Tokyo police officer, detective, who is investigating what seems to be an unrelated string of killings by random different people. The only thing that the killings have in common is that the victim has a large X carved into their body. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, dab Donald. And while Takabe believes that all of these are actually related, his superiors, his colleagues, do not. They believe that this is just random killings, and that the X is merely coincidence. And we go through the dark world that Takabe does to try and find out the connection between all of these murders.
That sounds good. Should watch it.
Yeah. Let's go watch it.
And now spoilers
Yes.
from here on out.
Spoilers.
Because I really don't know. Even the first scene, I was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" But it makes sense when you understand the last bit of So
Yep.
where to begin? I've got loads of notes. I've got notes fucking all over the place.
I'll let you start then.
So Fumi's wife is reading Bluebeard, and I was like, why the fuck is she reading Bluebeard? Do you know the story of Bluebeard?
Not intimately. I know it very top level.
So Bluebeard is a French story from 1697 according to Wikipedia, and it's about a man who marries and kills one wife after another. Isn't that interesting? Why is she reading Bluebeard?
She's got a lot of dead wives. And one thing to note about Fumi, his wife, is that she suffers from some sort of mental disorder, implied to be something like schizophrenia, or but she often loses track or awareness of her surroundings, gets lost easily, and he's having to care for her as well as try and do his job as a detective.
The opening scene is her in a sanitarium or some kind of psychiatric facility. I will say we can try to discuss it fairly linearly, but I will definitely refer to other things and spoil further things, is what I meant. So the first bit is, Fumi is at this sanitarium. It's very odd. The table in front of her shakes, which isn't really explained properly, but it ties into things later on. It's odd. It's a very it's a very weird.
A lot
moment.
of that in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie, which is why I'm like, this is going to be impossible for me. It will be possible for me to discuss. You can still take the lead a bit on the plot structure. Yeah. I'll jump in whenever.
So to try and investigate this string of killings, he gets together with his friend and colleague, who is a forensic psychologist.
I was always very confused about his role.
Yeah, very much.
Got a lab coat, he's in interviews.
And half the time it seems like he doesn't work for the police at all, and he just gets brought in by Takabe. But he appears to be a psychologist that works for the police. And they threw a lab coat on him because psychiatrists have to be careful not to get mental illness on their clothes. But they eventually work together to find that there is one common thread between all these murders, and that is every killer, before they committed their murder, came in contact with a man who appears to have extreme memory loss, doesn't know anything, just like, who am I, where am I, what year is it, like, who are you? And I will say that the first instance in which you see this man, whose name is Mamiya, he meets a guy, talks to him. The guy's a bit concerned, and
he doesn't know where he is or anything.
It's like you would be concerned as a person if a person like that approached you. And he wants to help him out. And he's like, "Oh, I'll phone the ambulance." And he's like, "No, No, don't do that. Phone the police? No. Don't do that. I'll just take you home with me? Yes, that's the one. And that one, I did find.
Mafia has some way of influencing what people do.
I know. Weird, isn't it? And at this point, I was a bit like, well, that's not what I would do. I definitely wouldn't be like, yeah, just come stay in my home, random stranger who appears to not know anything about themselves. But the man, cares for him, lets him stay at his house, feeds him, and then murders. And then Mamiya disappears again, off to meet his next friend.
Yeah, so there's a strange moment where he's talking to this guy who's a teacher, his wife's a housewife, and Mamiya says something about seeing a woman in a pink negligee, and the guy reacts to it, implying that the teacher has some kind of possible adulterous thoughts. It's just that kind of moment, and it's kind of weird because immediately you're like, what the fuck, is Mamiya psychic or something? And that is definitely a through line in other ways in the film that is not fully defined. Oh, I will say also there's a murder straight away, actually.
Yeah, there is a murder straight away, but I was
before
just
this, it's a guy murders a girl with a pipe, but it's really weird because it's set to quite plinky plonky jaunty music. It's like, and that's something that carries on through the film as well. This kind of whatever, death, yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, that moment's odd. I'll touch on that later.
And that one is quite. It's a very striking murder, no pun intended. That the way it's shot is very much in silhouette.
Oh, and you just see the man.
Sorry, the first murder, where the girl's lying on the bed, the guy walks in, and it just looks like he's going over to the dresser to do whatever, take off his watch, because they're clearly about to have
go to
sex.
Poundstown. Yes.
Thanks, Donald. And all of a sudden he just turns, grabs something off a pipe,
starts pounding in a different way.
Yeah, and just beats her over the head. It is quite a striking moment, as well as like the way it's shot is quite stunning, to be honest.
Yeah. Carry on.
Yep. So eventually they do track down Mamiya. He's very evasive, as well as having this memory loss. He doesn't want to work with Takabe in this at all, and obviously that raises Takabe's suspicions. And his psychologist friend has him transferred into prison care, just to get him assessed, etc. And at this point is where Takabe starts to really delve deeper into what might be happening.
So there's an interesting moment where is it Sakura? Sakuma, his psychologist friend, is talking about the teacher murder because they don't understand why the teacher has murdered his wife, and he says, "Oh, maybe the devil made him do it." That actually comes up twice. The devil made him do it.
Is it only twice? I noticed it a few times.
It might be more.
I think it's quite a few times through the movie that there's a lot of that.
That's to do with Mamiya, but it's not really arguably to do with Mamiya. And I'll talk about that later.
Quite a few times Mamiya does exclaim, maybe the devil made him do it, and it leads you into thinking that Mamiya, it's a quirk of Mamiya's. He's clearly very religious, or deeply believes in hell or the devil or whatever. But as Donald says, that kind of expands later on. But Takabe manages to go through Mamiya's belongings. And finds that he used to extensively study
psychology,
specifically hypnosis.
Mesmerism, yes.
mesmerism.
Weird because I was watching this with a friend, and the friend was like, "Oh, I wonder if you'll know how it works." And for some reason, the word I said was, "Oh, I wonder if it's like mesmerism," because I'm specifically mesmerism, but that's because based on the title alone and the fact that people were doing this under some kind of duress that couldn't be explained, I honestly, and I didn't know anything about this film at all, I honestly assumed vampirism.
Vampire? Oh, okay, because of mesmer, right? Yeah.
Classic Dracula style
Was
vampiric
it
mesmerism.
glimmer?
What?
Is glimmer?
A thing? Oh, I don't know.
I think that's the term for the vampire hypnosis.
Just with the whole amnesiac mania and everything, I was like, I wonder if it. So I literally, it's weird though, because I don't know where I pulled mesmerism out from. I didn't know there was a guy called Mesmer, so it's just a specifically vampire thing.
And the moment they said mesmerism in the movie, Donald pulled out a pipe and started lighting it.
My work here is done. I'm amazing.
Yeah.
We should say there's also a backdrop of his wife, Takabe's wife, is still displaying frustrating scenes to Takabe of, like, I thought it was like early onset dementia potentially. She's basically, she does lots of, she wanders about sometimes. She goes out of the house and wanders about alone at night and doesn't know where she is, which is like classic old person style dementia to me.
Totally. Or if she goes out shopping, like, oh, she's not been back in 5 hours. She got lost.
There's all that kind of stuff happening.
Which really does beg the question, why are you letting her go out shopping like that?
Yeah, I know. And I mentioned that because later on I have to discuss something else as well. I told you it's fine.
I don't think it's a mess. You seem to be the mess at this point.
Yeah. I've got it.
But yeah, it's very important. The scenes with Takabe's wife are actually very important because it really emphasizes the strain that is taking on Takabe while he's trying to solve murders that no one else believes are connected. Mm-hmm. And that's a really, really well done, really powerfully done because Takabe really. Just checking. Yeah, Koji Yakusho does an excellent job of that kind of dichotomy between having to be a caring, loving husband to a wife with mental illness versus the having to be, analytical, non-emotional while he's trying to figure out why or what Mamiya is doing.
Yeah. That all sounds good.
Yeah. And because of this, these findings, the study in psychology and mesmerism, Takabe starts to believe that Mamiya is full of shit and he doesn't have memory problems.
His flat's also pretty disgusting. It reminded me.
Oh yeah.
It reminded me of the scene in Seven. See, I told you when Mills and Somerset visit John Doe's apartment because it's basic. It's very similar because it's kind of like his philosophy is like contained in loads of books absolutely everywhere, and it's a real dumpy shithole. And there's like a monkey, and the monkey's not been treated well. There's other animals as well, which actually leads into what mesmerism is and all that stuff. But I'll just say. So that whole mesmerism thing, I was like, what the fuck's mesmerism? So Franz Mesmer, a real person, believed in something called animal magnetism, later referred to as...
Which you'll have heard of
but I didn't know that was...
But it's not... it is an actual thing.
And then he thought that was a real invisible force called Lebensmagnetismus or something. And that idea, I think... relates into this film as well, and I'll get to that later. Bye.
And Lebensmagnetismus means life magnetism.
Yeah.
Literally.
Which explains the animals. Like, there's, some kind of experimentation happening.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some hints, because, movie, that Mamiya, like, to the audience that he is full of shit before this, but it's in small doses. It's is that, it's more of is he actually doing that? Well, that seems a bit weird rather than like straight up just winking at the audience.
That's interesting because I think he genuinely was an amnesiac.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
I'll explain why later.
It's just going to be a 20-minute info dump from you at the end of this. So, going off all of this evidence that Takabe has found, Takabe decides that Mamiya should be charged with incitement to murder, which is very interesting because that's
Court will have
fucking...
bad
Oh,
time.
yeah, it's going to be a hard one to prove in court.
He has the police officer happened at this point? Yeah, the police officer already happened at that point. So they have documented evidence of him. Like, they have his fingerprints at the teacher's house, and he was pulled in by a policeman, talked to the policeman. The policeman later shot his colleague, and then they interviewed the policeman, be like, what the fuck's happening? And the policeman, like, displayed signs of being mesmered. He, like... at that point they knew there was something happening. They're shining a light in his eyes, and then he, like, under like a trance, started to try and like cut an X into this policeman in the room, and he's like, what? I didn't know what I was doing. So at this point they're well aware that shit's going down. I don't know how much is going to stick in court, but they at least have circumstantial evidence, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah, the best type of evidence. Do you want to continue, or am I going linearly?
So where are we at the point of the film? So we're in the prison. Mami is in prison. Okay.
Yes.
Mami is in prison. All right. So there's a lot of things. I'll do the amnesia thing. So Mamiya has lines, like in the doctor's office, he talks about I've actually got the line written down. At least how the subtitle... This is the problem.
Yes.
You're never sure if subtitles are exactly 100%. Anyway.
To be fair, that's a common thread in a podcast about foreign movies.
I actually have the Blu-ray, but then the second time I watched it on the version you watched, and I don't know if the Blu-ray subtitles are 1-for-1 or whatever. Anyway, he says, all these things that used to be inside me, now they're all outside, so I can see all the things inside you, Doctor, but the inside of me is empty, right? There's other parts where I feel he is genuinely kind of like an actual empty vessel. He has this weird, he's got this weird mesmerism ability, and it kind of, he's kind of lost his sense of identity basically completely. Although, I don't know what times you're referring to specifically, I know it's a very ambiguous film as it is.
Yeah.
That might suggest he's like fibbing about it, but he does talk to people as if and that line also kind of hints that he can see what people feel, and I'm not entirely sure how literally to take that, because we know that through the film that he can hypnotize people.
Yeah.
And later on, sorry, I was just going to finish my thought. Later on, before I forget it, later on, Takabe, he says something about Takabe's wife to Takabe.
Yes.
But then it's explicitly explained that a policeman outside told him that information.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about my kind of moments where I disbelieved Mamiya, and it is that kind of it's kind of it's a line here and a line there. No, I haven't written them down, unfortunately, but it is that way that his entire demeanor changes when he goes from being the amnesiac to being the hypnotist. To put that very, very, very simply,
his demeanor does change. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's, as you said, there's a lot of ambiguity in this movie. It plays on what you're expecting, it plays on what the characters are expecting, and it does keep you guessing a lot of the way through it.
Yeah, so I think you could definitely draw parallels. Is it worth mentioning this now? Yeah, it's fine. You could definitely draw parallels with Mamiya and Fumi's amnesia, because if Fumi was, as I took it to be, if Fumi was a dementia patient, they have moments of lucidity, and she does have moments of lucidity. She seems to be kind of normal, and then Takabe pours her a beer, and then she kind of switches out of it and goes back to doing familiar behaviors which show that she's not really present in the moment. And there's a weird parallel in the film with Mamiya and Fumi, to the point where some people have drawn a far more literal link online, which I don't actually agree with. But I feel like that kind of implies to me more that he is genuinely not always there, but can have moments of kind
lucidity,
of malevolent
if you will.
lucidity, which also I don't think is really him, because it's very ambiguous how what the mesmerism is. We'll get to that later, right? Carry
on. Thankfully, that leads quite perfectly into. So once he's had the interview with Mamiya, and Mamiya mentions his wife.
This is in the prison, the dirty, dank prison,
Takabe then has a vision of his wife's suicide.
Very grisly.
Yes, a very grisly suicide. And on seeing that, he then gets her committed to the mental hospital that you see in the start of the film.
But I disagree.
Possibly. Same. Okay.
It's
actually the same hospital.
Yeah. That's actually that moment.
Whether it's the same moment is
the moment where he is that this. I might be getting my moments confused. There's a moment where it might be later. There's a moment after talking to Mimaya where he grabs a knife. Is that the same? Does he come home and see her hanged and then grabs the knife later? It's very close in that terms of that. He there's a moment when he's at home and he's frustrated with her. I think she's asleep in bed. He walks to the kitchen, he grabs a knife. From then on, this movie is different. There's an X.
There's an X.
And I think after that is where she is committed. Definitely. That's like one of the next scene is her being committed. That's why I'm saying this now.
It is. It's after that suicidal vision and etc.
Good luck.
Oh Jesus, you're making my job very difficult.
I know. I'm sorry. That's what I said. I knew I'd be fucking all over the place. That's actually. I will say that's actually. So that is a really effective scene, and the way it happens is Takabe and Mami it's his second time talking to him, and Takabe is frustrated with him. So Mamaya has a couple of techniques he's shown to hypnotize people. Dripping water is one. A lighter is another. And in that scene, Takabe's getting frustrated with him. He's talking about how annoying his wife is. He grabs Mamaya's lighter and he lights it, and he just puts it beside him. And Mamaya says Takabe's like amazing or whatever. He's like, wow, you're great. And then he says, you'll be born again just like me, which starts a whole different journey of what's happening. And he says, you're a special person, you're different. And then you see above in the ceiling, there's like a pool of darkness forms, and then but it's water, that dirty water drips onto the lighter. Then he goes, and it's definitely implied that throughout the whole movie, it's implied that every time he talks to Mamaya, there might be some mesmerism happening that Takabe's not really aware of. But that is a definite confirmed. He has that, and then he goes and he sees this vision immediately, and it's horrifying. And then he realizes, no, she's fine. Did we actually say that? It's just he does go and then she's just there like, what?
Yeah, no, she's 100%. She is just And it's because up till that point, you do have that thought of, like, Takabe seems to be the only person up to this point who has spoken to Mamiya that has not been
and
mesmered.
Sometimes it's instant. From our point of view, it seems instant, although what I was saying about going back to the teacher, and Mamiya seems to know that he's got possible adulterous thoughts, which might be a motivation for why he killed his wife, because he's not happy with her or something, or whatever it was. There was a clear image of pink lingerie. It could be that Mamiya just learned that by mesmerizing him off screen, and I think that's definitely something to think about a lot of the times, that he's maybe hints he could be psychic. But then we get the explanation that, oh no, that police officer just told him that Takabe and his wife are having a tough time and stuff. So it is hard to say, but there seems to be, basically, you don't need a lot of contact for a long time before you are under his spell. And the police, it just seems
the police officer is probably the one that really nails that because it is such a short interaction.
Yeah.
You know, the previous ones, it's like they met in a park and they walked back to this guy's house,
cut.
and then they
And you
like,
don't know.
he could have been spending that entire walk home like, do you want to look at my lighter?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that is when like you're like, okay, so he is like I've seen both of these interactions between Takabe and Mamiya, and he is mesmerizing him.
Yeah.
Hypnotizing him. And it isn't as, you know, it's not waving the watch in front of someone's face, you are feeling sleepy, do this. It is there's a lot more subconscious to it.
Yeah.
And that's when that's confirmed.
Yeah. And it can be anything. Like rhythmic noise seems to be able to do it as well. And that could be literally anything. That could be tapping your finger on a table. Yep. Like, it could be anything. So, yeah.
There is a moment where, as you said, when Takabe snatches the lighter from his hand. And I was like, oh, good, you're smart. And then he puts it on and puts it down. And I'm like, oh, fucking idiot. What are you doing? Also, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't allow people to have lighters in PlayStation.
I don't think that's really the literal problem.
Maybe mesmered the guy that strip searched him.
I've seen what it was. So sorry, I've seen why he grabs the knife. It's because he comes home after that long day, and then he opens up the cloche on the dinner table, and it's a raw steak, and he gets fucking furious about it. He throws it around. Ah! Sorry, I just had to say. I had to correct myself.
So, back to Sakuma, his forensic psychologist pal. He has done his own digging and has found an old videotape of the
I will
Japanese.
say this is all very, very convenient, but I don't mind it, but we'll blast past it. It's very, very like Basil Exposition coming in and being like, see, how the fuck would he have known this otherwise? But
yeah, sometimes you just have to allow those things. You do. It's...
Yep.
Otherwise, this movie would have been like another 40 minutes of Sakuma doing his own investigation.
Yeah. But sorry, I interrupted you. What does he find, Alistair? What does he find?
He finds an old videotape of a mysterious old man who is speculated to be the originator of mesmerism in Japan.
Now, when we say videotape, you mean a reel of disturbed film from 1898 or something?
Yeah. An old video, an old silent movie.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Archive 81, very similar to the videotapes in that of the old rituals. It's just I'll pluck that obscure one season TV series just in case anyone knows it. So in the video, they basically see very similar things to what the murders have had. Like, you know, people under hypnosis, like gesturing X's into the air.
And then she went on to murder her son. So yeah, it's the same modus operandi.
Exactly. So he believes, Sakuma believes that this is all connected. And believes that Mami is committing some sort of ceremonial murder through these other people. And unfortunately for Sakuma, he then draws a big X in paint on his wall.
Well, it's really weird. So when I mentioned that moment where I'm like, this film changes, it's very open to interpretation at this point. So he's reading a book in Mamiya's apartment about occultism, and then he basically looks up and he's in a field and there's a massive building in front of him with a person in the window, and then he kind of comes to and he's back in his flat and he's sweating and Takabe's there, and then Takabe sees the X in his wall and is like, what the fuck's going on here? And he mentions the whole missionary stuff, and it's like, right, I don't think this guy is entirely, within his senses anymore. At some point he's been got.
And Sakuma realizes that when they're talking, he's like, right, I'm fucked, basically. Like, In short, he is like, okay, this is really bad. And several days later, his body is found handcuffed to a pipe in his house. With the conclusion that he killed himself because... And that's left slightly ambiguous whether he did that himself consciously, like I can feel it, or I've having these blackouts, so I'm going to kill myself, or if it's a case of a murder must happen because I'm under this and I can't move, so I must kill someone, and that someone is me.
Interesting.
Which is what I got from it. Whether that's what you got, that's kind of the ambiguity I got out of that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. The rules. We'll get to the rules later.
You and your bloody rules.
We're nearly there.
Yeah, I know we are.
In terms of the story.
So, Mamiya manages to escape from prison.
He pounds rhythmically. So it's actually kind of weird. So there's an earthquake. I assume it's an earthquake. It seems to be an earthquake, although it does.
And Japan does have earthquakes.
Although it does
I've
kind
heard.
of lead to a scene of Mamiya bashing a chair off a radiator to have this rhythmic sound. Boom, 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 boom. Now, having said that, when everything's shaking, the police officer that's sitting there, that's his guard, is not reacting to it in any way, which really makes it look like he's been mesmerized. And it also kind of weirdly reminds me of the first scene where Fumi was sitting at that table and the table started shaking. So
Yep.
I'm still not entirely sure what the true link between those moments is, but it's definitely some sort of thing. Yes, but he does this.
And I'm gonna let you close out the rest of this because you're the one that has all the grand
Right, so
theses.
feces. So Mamaya's escaped. Takabe is walking through the woods and comes to the massive building that the psychiatrist had seen with a face in the window. He goes into the building. It's not a very nice building. It's got... Actually, I'm not entirely sure if he finds the stuff first or if he finds Mamiya first. Mamiya is there. Mamiya says specifically that Takabe let him escape, which is not what we were shown.
Yeah.
What we were shown was we thought he'd escape by himself, but he specifically says, I let you escape. Takabe then shoots him, basically, without any kind of ceremony. He says, this is the end for you too, implying it's the end for Takabe in some way. Mamiya chases the X in front of Takabe in the same manner that the film footage from 1898 showed.
Well, the same as everyone has done that you've seen.
And then blam, 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 blam. And then he goes into
Shoots him a lot.
Yeah. And he goes into this room, and it's got an old... is it a phonograph?
Phonograph.
He plays it, and it's sort of gibberish, but it is the material that Mamiya studied that led him down this path of mesmerism. All that shit is here, basically, or enough of it is here. And then Takabe is shown in a diner. He's been in the diner before, and funnily enough, before when he was in this diner, this random diner, he was always shown not having finished his food. This time he's in the diner. He's wearing a nice suit. He looks very good. He's finished his food. He's smoking a little cigarette. He's having the time of his life. He actually looks very happy. And then the waitress he was talking to is shown explicitly in the background getting something whispered to her by her boss, going and getting a knife, clutching a knife, and walking in a slightly sinister manner. The end. The end. The end.
The one thing you did miss was that before that, you are shown...
Yes.
You're shown that Fumi
I didn't know if it was Fumi 100%. It's dark.
I thought it was.
I thought
it is dark.
I take it is. I take it is.
What appears to be Fumi.
Yes.
It's dark and also starting to decompose.
Yeah.
It's not a fresh corpse.
Yeah.
With an X carved on her.
Yeah. However, she's been wheeled by a nurse in what looks like a facility.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really make sense why that would
No.
happen. Okay. No. Right. So. So the moment where Takabe gets annoyed, grabs the steak, throws it at the wall, grabs the knife. I do believe he killed Fumi at that moment. Because afterwards you're shown him on a bus with her, and the background is really strange. It's all clouds and
It
sky.
is.
It really
Genuinely,
sticks
at that moment, I was like, "Are they driving through heaven?"
It really sticks out.
It's ethereal.
Later on, he's with. Oh, is he with? Does he get driven to the? I think he gets driven to the big warehouse that's weird by two police officers. That is also a car scene which has absolutely no backgrounds, and it's kind of also it's like misty. It's really odd.
It's like this isn't so. Just to put this in context, this isn't like budgetary. This isn't like okay. It's not like the old 50s movies where you see someone in a car and you can tell that the background's fake. This is like, right, something's off here.
Yeah, definitely. It does stick out. Yeah, it does stick out. So I'm definitely of the opinion that although we can't, from that moment when he's on the bus, not everything is literal, and that is definitely bears out, because this whole big building thing, and I mean, I've seen the movie twice. I can't remember if it's specifically explained what ties the building has. I can't remember off the top of my head. It probably does have some kind of actual tie to his. Maybe he learned something there. Maybe
it could be where the original, the old guy did his, but like it's a lot of that is actually left ambiguous.
But even if it says it, I'm thick. I missed it, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because basically you're being brought to this place, like, so his friend is being brought to this place, and then it winds up dead. He's been brought, and that when his friend sees it, he is explicitly having some kind of vision. There's no
ambiguity on that. That is,
but he is seeing this through Maya's eyes, or Maya's like suggestion, and there's definitely no. We're not shown any time where he relates this particularly to Cabby. Anyway, so. What I would gather, it's a very odd ending, I will say that. What I think is that this mesmerism thing, this, God, what was the name? Lebensmagnetismus, this power that exists in the world.
The animal magnetism.
It seems to be that it is some kind of malevolence behind it. I think that's what the film is implying, that it is... I mean, even... It's so fucking annoying, because even when I say that statement, I will contradict myself in a minute by talking about some other parts of the film, but it doesn't matter. It's some kind of force that lives through people, or propagates through people. So it propagated into Mamaya. Mamaya sees that Takabe is an excellent host for this thing, disciple of this thing, and makes the decision quite midway through the film, you are going to be the new missionary of this thing, and you're going to go out and spread the word. And by spreading the word, what he means is mesmerizing people to do the crimes, etc. Yeah. That's what I took from it, and a lot of the ending is not really literal, but I do believe that some people argue about the waitress. I do think the waitress was going to commit a murder. I think that's what you're...
100%.
People argue about that. There's actually trivia.
Oh, no, what I'm saying 100%, I mean, that's what I got. Unambiguous, that's what I got from it.
What I will say is, according to IMDb trivia, I cannot back this up. There's an ending which actually shows waitress kill somebody. I don't know if that's true, because I can't.
Whether it is or doesn't, like, yes,
even if it isn't, it wasn't in the actual film, so I guess it leaves it more ambiguous than what it would be otherwise. But yeah, it really seems to be that's what I took from it anyway. Is this Lebensmagnetismus?
Stop saying, just say animal magnetism.
Actually, when I was talking about, I actually called it X, the power of X. I just called
power
it
of X.
Power of
I
X.
don't like that.
The power of X.
For current reasons, I don't like that.
Now, I will say though, how the power works is interesting, because initially you've got this whole "the devil made him do it" thing, making you think it's Mamaya, but then it's basically explained to you that these people are not killing people because of suggestion, because the psychiatrist states explicitly that you cannot, if someone is morally against killing, you cannot mesmerize them.
You can't force someone to do something that they would not do.
It will not work. Right, so basically implying that everyone that kills wants to kill, and they have legitimate grievances to kill, but they don't have the bravery, in a sense, to do it. They're too, obviously, I mean, they're a member of civilized society, and they don't want to just murder someone, but morally they're okay with it. There's other reasons why they don't do it.
Yeah,
which is very, it's an interesting way for the
or that this power goes beyond that. And I believe it's closer to what you said, but it is also because the further you get into this movie, the more it becomes less about this is a guy who's hypnotizing people to murder and more about something grander than that.
Yeah.
And that's where it's because that was actually my thought. I had that
theme corner.
This whole episode is theme corner.
I've got it.
Because I heard that before, that your favorite person in the world, Derren Brown, has talked about it.
I do like him as a person.
Yeah, no, I know. It's your favorite mentalist, Derren Brown, has talked about you can't make someone do something that they wouldn't do, but that they would be opposed to. Because there's the whole thing about hypnosis that people are playing along.
Yeah.
Like whether it's conscious or subconscious, it is not like that's why some people cannot be hypnotized because they don't want to. They just do not want to be hypnotized. So to make someone hypnotized, they have to be open to it. Yeah. And that's where I feel it is that blurred line between, okay, do these people actually have this in them? Did they have the thought of, I could have this, like I'd be free to go and have my other relationship if my wife was dead?
Yeah.
Is it just feeding into that, or is it a grander power? And that's where, when you talk about the old video with the originator of mesmerism, you've got Mamiya, and then you've got Takabe, and then you've also got Sakuma talking about the devil made them do it. And is this a case where there is an entity? Did the original was the proprietor of mesmerism actually just summoning something for a grander power that has then gone through, okay, right, this guy's about to die, or this guy, I've used him up, let's pass it on to the next person and the next person, and then he is just the next in line. And that's what for me, that's what the waitress shows, that he is the next.
He's definitely
you're
the next
confirming. But that's what I see in the restaurant, is that's him using that power.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it is. If you could take a, like what you're saying, I'm not sure what camp I sit on. If I could take it, like they do reference the occult, and they talk about how mesmerism and the occult are intertwined in certain ways, and it is a bit kind of. There's a bit of animal sacrifice on Mamiya's part and stuff like that. I don't know if it's like an idea that's propagating, or if it's actually a force, like you say. I don't know.
And to be honest,
I'm literally trying to make. I'm only referring to exactly what you said there, because I'm like, I was going to make a decision on it, but I don't know.
but on my side, I don't really. Not care's the wrong word, but I don't care to make a decision on it. I like that. I like that you're left with certain open-ended questions.
Yeah.
It's the Inception problem. It's like some movies, I want them tied up neatly in a bow. I do. It would be like, great, they didn't resolve this, they didn't resolve that. This is a case where I enjoy that ambiguity. I
did too, but I will say I could see people not.
Oh, no, totally. But that's...
I feel like ambiguity... I honestly feel ambiguity in film is definitely something that's more... I find it more common in big films from overseas areas than films in America and Britain. I feel like our films don't really tend to do that very much.
Yeah. 100%, and the reason for that is audience testing.
Probably.
It's the whole nature of the Hollywood business, and I'm including British films in that, because 90% of British films are funded and blah 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 by Hollywood.
Exactly. I feel like when I think about like ambiguous films I've liked and enjoyed, I mean, a lot of them are Asian. I think Asia is actually totally fine with.
Exactly, because and obviously this is speculation. I've never been in a movie studio or done a focus test, but. Like you've seen it more than once, and I actually talked about it in the Glasgow Fright Fest episode from this year, that there was one movie where I didn't like the ending, because I was like, that just seems like a studio ending. It just seems like that they focus tested this, and then people were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What happens at the end? Right, okay, right, we need to shoot this thing or we need to clear this up. And like some movies, yeah, that's great. Like, okay, you've left it too open-ended or this or that. But so many, as you said, especially the high-budget movies, they ain't going to touch that. They want to go to every person possible. And ambiguity, people don't like ambiguity. People just want to go into their little stories and get told them.
Their little stories. I know. I'm only joking. I will say that because this is a police procedural, that might also trip people up as well, because you tend to expect a murderer, a means of murder, a motive
Law and
for
Order,
murder.
CSI, NCIS.
Well, Seven is a really excellent
No,
film,
but what I'm meaning is there's so many cases of these procedurals, and in every episode they get tied up in a neat little bow, unless it is a case where we want to bring this murderer back for a 3-episode arc. Like that's how it works. And I'm not. I know it sounds like it. I'm not putting that style of movie making or TV making down. It's just that in certain instances it becomes endemic. It becomes an issue because they make everything it regardless of the original vision.
Aye. So what I'm saying is, I think it could wrong foot someone who comes to this film expecting Seven, which was a dark police procedural with it's not supernatural, but it could be. It's almost like it's a bit spooky at times, and then that film gets an excellent resolution with an antagonist. This film doesn't have an antagonist really, because we can't even describe exactly what's happening with the antagonist, and we also have the thing where he's kind of caught 40 minutes in and they know it's him. It's not that kind. So even though it starts like that kind of story, it deviates massively and ends ambiguously. So I could see, I'm sure when
that
you get
rubbing
to
people
reviews,
the wrong way.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I initially didn't realize it would be this kind of film, and I feel like the first time I was a bit like, what the fuck was that? And I had to watch it again to really... When I watched it again, I felt much more like I was paying much more attention to how it was made and little things here and there. And I found it very, very rewarding like that. A lot of people aren't going to bother. That's what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right in that. And that's, again, that again just brings me back to why it is less pervasive in English language movies. Because
I think it's fair to say,
less people will like this. Fuck, we need to change it.
I was going to discuss one moment with your one fan theory. It will require me to share my screen. Actually, I know I'm sorry, everyone else that can't see my screen, but I'll describe why I'm doing it. Boom.
Is this where we start turning this into a video podcast?
No. Is this the screen you can see, or is this the screen you can see? Little column A?
I think I need
column B.
Do I need to go over here?
Column A?
No, I'm not. I am just seeing you. It might be because I have you popped out.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You should be able to see a Word document.
Okay, wait. Can I see? Yeah, there we go.
Is it have red on it?
Fucking hell!
What?
You might be able to see a Word document. There's 4 pages that I can see.
Oh, this one?
There's 7 pages of notes.
Yeah, but some of them are pictures. Yeah, I know. I went mental.
Is that 1,000 words or 1,800 words?
1,800. So
you wrote an essay on this movie.
No, it was just little thoughts and feelings and what had happened.
Fuck off.
So there's a popular fan theory to do with Fumi's amnesia. So the fan theory goes that we didn't even talk about this scene, and it's actually really good. There's an earlier murder where Mamiya goes to a doctor and talks to the doctor and brings out her, like he does, he brings out her little annoyances and foibles. And later on, she murders a guy very brutally in a toilet and starts skinning his face. It's very effective. It's the only moment of real gore in the film, and it's a very effective bit of gore. I was like, fucking hell. It just takes you by surprise. So I've watched the film. I went online to try to figure out what people made of it. And I kept seeing a thing where Fumi is seen in the toilet, going to the women's toilet before you see the men's toilet where that murder happens, and people take from that, along with Fumi being amnesiac and the table shaking, people think that Mamiya has mesmered Fumi to get to Takabe historically. They also take this, I'm not saying that I believe that or not, they also take this psychiatrist line about it taking a long time to mesmerize someone and things like that. They think that she was seen there. Why is she there? Right. I'm not sure she is there. Because when I looked at it, right, can you see that? This is the woman. I had to go back and take a screenshot, and I still had trouble. This is the woman that walks in there, right?
Yep.
She's shown with a brown coat. It's got sleeves. She's got a bag. She's got her hair. It's partially tied up at the back. Now, when you see Fumi walking around, before that moment, leading up to that moment, she's seen with a brown coat, black boots as well. She's got same color hair, sure, but her coat doesn't have sleeves on it. It's like a weird poncho.
It's definitely a different coat. It's more like a cloak.
Yeah, it's a different coat, and her hair isn't really tied up.
It's darker. It's also darker.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be, from the angles I can see, it doesn't seem to be tied up. So I don't think this is Fumi. And if that's not Fumi, I think a lot of the thinking behind Fumi being mesmered was, and I quite like that theory, because before I realized that wasn't true, when I was running with what that would mean, I quite liked that, because I thought, I wonder if Fumi, so this leads me back to another thing I'd say refer to later, the rules. You can't mesmer someone who doesn't want to murder. So I started thinking, what happens if you mesmer someone who doesn't want to murder? And I wondered if Fumi had been mesmered and had no murderous intent in her, and therefore had no way to express the mesmerism, and so she was forever in this state of being like in a trance.
The same way that the perpetrators of the killings black out.
Yeah. I felt like, what if that's some kind of relief from the mesmerism? They've got out of their system. Hey, they've done a murder, and it's great for them. And she couldn't do it, so she's in this trance the whole time. Oh, that would be interesting. And then I went back and actually went, I should probably, after thinking about all that, I was like, I should probably check it actually is real, because I don't believe the internet a lot. And I was like, fuck, I don't think that is Fumi. So I think this is all probably sort of bollocks, maybe. Although I will say it is similar, and there's no reason to show it other than the director possibly wanting you to make those connections and conclusions. But it is definitely ambiguous, because it doesn't actually look like her on close inspections. I don't know what to make of that. What do you make of that fan theory? For me,
that seems like the type of fan theory where people have just gone a wee bit overboard.
I can see why it would happen with this.
No, 100%. It's the people that want to get answers, that are determined to have a clear cut, this is what happened. Because for me, that falls apart with almost every other murder. Like, how does it, so what, was he following the policeman the whole time?
Yeah,
was it like, so that's where it falls apart for me. Like, it's a cool theory. Yeah. I like the theory. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I think I would also prefer, I'd prefer my interpretation, which would be that Mamiya just encounters Takabe and realizes that he is special.
Yeah.
And then starts working on him from there. And I think...
Exactly.
I think that Fumi's amnesia, I'm going to tie it back to what I think, which is I think that Mamiya is an empty vessel for this thing, and it's really fucked him over. I cannot explain the shaking table.
No.
Can't do it. But that takes place in a sanitarium, and I don't know if she's ever actually been there. Because you see her getting taken there after she is already dead, according to me. I have no idea if those scenes should be taken literally at all. I don't know.
Exactly. And it is. It's and I think that also takes away from...
She's reading fucking Bluebeard. You probably shouldn't take them literally. She's reading Bluebeard and she's murdered by her husband. That didn't happen then. None of that happened. The table shaking never happened, I've decided. I don't think it happened. I don't think it happened.
But yeah, for me, also, that theory takes away from a lot of the grander sense that you get from the movie of that, like, that it isn't regular hypnotism or mesmerism. It isn't just your bog standard straight up.
Not everyone could do it. Yeah. I don't know. No, I was about to ask, if you had the material, if you had Mamiya's materials, would you be able to do it? But I suppose the answer is no, because Takabe was specifically chosen.
Yeah.
The other thing is Mamea's psychicness. Is he psychic?
I don't know on that one.
He seems to be able to recognize people that have a certain susceptibility to him.
I don't know enough about mentalism, to be perfectly honest with you. And I do believe that is like that plays into a part of this.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's yeah. Like I don't believe in this world that if I or you or anyone else in that world had those
in Cure World.
In Cure World. In Cure, not this world, not in the real world, not in Earth 616. That if a person had all of these materials, that they would be able to replicate what Mamiya and eventually Takabe do. Yeah. I think it is this, and again, it's one of the things I really enjoyed about this movie is the thought process, but it forces you into.
Yeah.
For me, it is this sort of passed along from person to person, specifically one person. And that all started, whether it started with the progenitor of mesmerism in Japan, Bokuro, I think his name was.
Let's just throw that name out there. I have no fucking idea. I think it was at blah, blah, blah.
In the movie. That, whether he summoned it or it was passed to him and he was just the first to record it.
It was always there, and he's a conduit of this natural
energy. Has this
been Lebensmagnetismus?
Maybe it fucking started with Cain and Abel. Like,
yeah, I know,
do you know what I mean? Like, it's that for me. That's where that goes, rather than this. You could do it to anyone, and it's just he's really good at it, and it took him a long time to build up this. But no, I think it's very much it is a singular power, for lack of a better word, that a single person has.
Yeah, a force. He's a conduit.
Yeah,
he's an empty conduit. He's a vessel.
He's Captain Marvel.
Praise Power X. Will we do theme corner?
Yeah, and we're going to switch things up because this week it's... Donald's theme corner.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
So that was for the music.
I see.
The music goes there.
Music. Okay. So I mean, I'm sure we've touched along it, but listen, I wrote it down. So
you wrote fucking everything down.
So there's a theme. There's a definite theme. There's many themes. There's a theme of people internalizing anger or hatred or slights against them. And that's how mesmerism works, as we've said. But you see it earlier than that. So in Detective Takabe is at the laundrette. The customer ahead of him is muttering angrily about someone or something. He's angry, like he's very frustrated and angry. And then the guy at the laundrette serves him. He's like, "Oh, hi, yeah." He totally snaps out of it. Goes back to, "Oh, yeah, thanks very much." And then he leaves frowning and angry and Now
I do that with most interactions in my life.
So the name of the film, Cure, could reference Mamiya relieving the murderers of this internalized anger or frustration or hatred, and just let them express it like however they want. So the original name of the film was Evangelist, which could tie into this interpretation as well, but also kind of ties into the thing we've talked about. Yeah. I mean, even more so, I think it could refer to the power of X being an idea passed along through, missionaries. If they say missionaries. And as you said, the film draws links between mesmerism and occultism. So just to touch on the Evangelist title, unfortunately that was changed after the sarin attack, because that was so they were like, we have to change it, and then someone suggested Cure, which I think is a good title because it's also very fucking ambiguous, given that I thought this was some kind of vampire movie when I started. And to be fair to me, they get slashed along the throat a lot.
No, that's not.
they get slashed along the throat. It's called Cure. It was dark
No,
at night.
there's no,
I was
there's
like,
no
"Ooh."
that laugh is not at you.
No, I know. I'm just
thinking
saying.
that.
No,
yeah.
I just remembered part of the reason why I thought was because the carotids getting slashed in the victims, and I was like,
Yes.
oh, he's a vampire. He's a modern day vampire story somehow. So yeah,
And
that's a big theme that I don't think we touched on enough.
And just in case anyone doesn't know, the sarin attack that Donald's referring to happened in 1996, I think it was.
Yeah, so this one was in production.
95 by a cult, essentially.
Yeah.
New religion, I think they're called in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were like,
New
we have to
religious
change
movement.
this, and yes, fair enough, they did have to change it. And they did
Yeah.
change it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I tried to have a stab at Theme Corner. I hope I did okay. Thank you. Thank you, God bless.
Yep, that was...
Okay.
Donald's Theme Corner.
Right, I see.
Donald's Theme Corner.
Will we do trivia first or your reviews first?
Oh, let's go for a few reviews. I've not got too many. I will say that when looking for reviews on this, this movie was generally very, very widely
I think
loved.
it's niche. It's niche. And the people that will watch this, I think, are the type of people that will put into it and get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, Joe
don't
Higgins on Amazon says, remarkably original Japanese horror thriller. Nothing can quite describe the bizarre and bleak experience of this film. Just watch it.
God. Oh, I forgot to say one thing. See the idea flowing? It kind of reminded me of Ring a bit, because Ring is the thing getting passed along. But it also kind of reminded me of, I mean, you get that, like, It Follows and stuff. Like, It Follows is actually, it's like a force you can't see pass. Smile, even. These.
There's a lot.
But I can't think of one that did it before this one, to be fair. So I wonder if...
Off the top of my head, no.
I'm sure there probably is, but I just wonder if this film was maybe a source of inspiration for. Although, I mean, because this is like a progenitor, as they say, maybe it influenced Ring, which influenced those films, etc. But I thought it was I like that idea, and I always find it very effective. This ambiguous force. I really like Smile for that reason. I really like It Follows for that reason.
Yeah.
This ambiguous force of evil. Ring is slightly more tenuous because it turns out to be a ghost. Because it's J-horror, they're all ghosts.
Yeah.
Sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, I know, I'm with you. That I like that genre where it is. It's not this specific thing. It's not a guy that died 20 years ago and has come back. It is just this.
It's not a girl
thing.
that fell into a well like Ring.
No, but exactly. Yeah,
We're
exactly.
probably going to do Ring later, and it's brilliant, but it is
No,
different.
it is brilliant. We are not putting down Ring. What we're saying is that there is a certain, because there is no origin, and apparently It Follows 2 might delve into the origin of It Follows.
Fucking
I
to.
don't need it. Like, I don't need to know where it came from. I don't need to know where Smile came from.
I know.
I just like the fact that there is this malevolent force going around causing shit to happen.
It's cosmic horror in a sense. Lower key, obviously, but not knowable. Yeah,
But
I know.
back
I
to
like it
reviews.
too. Carry on, yes.
Book Addict on Amazon says 5 stars. Christmas gift. A Christmas gift my son asked for. No clue what it's like, but he's happy.
What a pointless waste of time for him. He's got the email asking him to review, and he's like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to say, but I have to do it. Amazon telling me to do it. 5 stars.
Over on IMDb, we have a 2-star review that you predicted. Gore or bore? Cure is not a gore movie, despite how other reviews compare this to Seven. There are some gore scenes, but they're very minimal.
People compare it to Seven. That's funny. I thought I did. So
Just wait. That's not even the bit I was referring to when I said
very quickly. I thought I was comparing it to Seven because I love Seven and talk about it a lot anyway.
Yeah.
I compare.
Oh no, I
compare from the Fright Fest to Seven. You know.
I also did when watching this. I was like,
fine.
it's a very Seven movie.
That's interesting. That's good. Okay.
Considering it came out 2 years before this, like you can't.
They probably did get influence. Yeah, that makes sense. Carry on, sorry.
There are some gore scenes, but they're very minimal. Very, very minimal. Donald, skinning the face is very minimal.
blinked and missed it. It was horrible.
I know. To try to get the movie going. Essentially, this is a psychological thriller to explore the mind of the sophisticated criminal. At the same time, it is the story to explore the life of a weary detective. I've found many problems watching this movie from a logical mind.
Oh,
there are too many open questions that never get answered.
Shit.
At least for 7, the movie nicely ties up all the loose ends, such as not the case for Cure. It's one thing to talk about the sophistication of the criminal mind, but it is another thing when the mind just does not make sense, and then cause other people not to make sense as well. I also find the shocking end... I know. I also find the shocking end less than satisfying. More can be done to explain why it happens versus it just happens. The transformation of sanity into insanity is complex. The movie does not do justice in presenting this topic well. A 2 out of 10 in my book. For better movies on the same topic, I suggest 7.
Wait. You started talking about 7. You can't just say
He
7.
mentioned it 3 times in that one review.
I will, right. It's not... If you like 7, you might not like this.
Yeah,
100%.
No,
different beast with superficial similarities.
Exactly. Like, it's more of a feeling than it is thematically or, like, by plot or anything like that. It is just... There is... Yes, it is a police noir movie. And it has a similar kind of grimy feel to it. That is pretty much the similarities.
It's got some beats. It's got some beats, but yeah, they take it.
Totally.
Very different. Very different.
Very, very different.
Do not fucking tread with caution.
Yeah. And to be honest, I can't finish on a better review than that. Let's be honest.
That was very good. That was very good. So trivia-wise, so I saw that Martin Scorsese liked this film, but I'm actually
apparently he likes a lot of fucking movies.
You must watch a lot of films. So Bong Joon-ho listed Cure apparently in his top 10 favorite films of all time. That's interesting because we recently watched Memories of a Murder, which is Bong Joon-ho's film from 2003. And it kind of reminds me stylistically of this film to the extent where I'm like, I wonder if Bong Joon-ho was influenced by this film or director, or he likes this film because it's kind of like the films he makes. But like Memories of a Murder is very similar in that we didn't really talk about how the movie looks and is shot very much, to be fair. There's a lot of tracking shots. Tracking is the wrong word. There's a lot of open-end. What is it? God, not open-ended shots. They go on for a while. They go on for ages.
Long takes.
There's a lot of long takes. And there's also, with a fair amount of action in them, it's not just looking at a flower in the field. There's like people talking back and forth. There's stuff happening. There is some nice... there's like a shot of them walking through a corridor of the hospital, but it's from the outside, and you see them walking along. And that look, I don't really have the vocabulary to describe it effectively, to be fair, but that look really reminded me of Memories of a Murder. Memories of a Murder has they're a bit more like ambitious, because Bong Joon-ho, probably with a bigger budget, has managed to get more people in his big shots of tracking of things happening and stuff, but it looks amazing, and like there's all kinds of things happening, and there's usually like a lot on the screen at once. It's very interesting. But Cure and that actually, I think like stylistically, I could see a lot of similarities with them. And Memories of a Murder also, I will say it's not a spoiler because Memories of a Murder is based on real life. It ends with the killer being not found. And
it's also less...
That, I will say, I found that frustrating at the time because I did not know that. It was kind of like, when you watch Zodiac.
I was literally about to say, Zodiac is a fantastic movie that is a disappointing ending because it has to be a disappointing ending. Yeah, I get it. They didn't catch him.
I actually don't mind Zodiac because I knew that he doesn't get caught, so I did not expect any.
I'm just meaning on the grand set, like
Memories of a Murder is similarly based on unsolved murder, and if I'd known that going in, I wouldn't have had that slightly deflating moment at the end, because through the film, they're on the trail, they're almost getting him. Well, what's going to happen? And I was like, fuck, who is it then? Like, it's kind of like a big misdirect into We don't know.
Uh-huh.
Funnily enough, though, they caught him later, so now we do know.
Memories of a Murder too.
So, like, the whole film was about kind of popularizing this famous unsolved series of murders in Japan, which I was not fucking aware of.
Well, it worked. They caught him.
They caught him. I would highly recommend Memories of a Murder, and I would not consider the fact that they don't catch him as a spoiler, because you need to know. Like,
It's
Zodiac,
vital.
you need.
And also, it's not a spoiler. The Titanic sinks in the end.
I know, exactly.
Yeah,
But I thought that was a cool bit of trivia, and I could definitely see a through line between the two. So that was good. I thought that was more interesting than Martin Scorsese, God bless him, just sitting down being like, I fucking liked that. It was scary, wasn't it? Like,
And then we looked for the source, and it was just a self-referencing source.
He watches so many films, I'm sure. He loves film. I don't think that Cure is in, The Departed. I don't really think it. He's just a fucking student of cinema and he loves it.
Yeah.
Another bit of totally unconfirmed trivia that I pulled off IMDb. When Takabe envisions his wife Fumi's death, his residential door number is shown as number 401. I should have checked. Do I have time to check? How about this? We'll do a live checking. You have to check if in Japan the numerical digit 4 is considered an unlucky number and is associated with death. You have to check if that's true. I will check if that number is true. Let's come back to it, because I've already seen something that was referenced that I don't believe. Hold on. When does it happen? Oh yes. Oh, I'm a genius. I'm here. Are you Googling 4 Japan death? It is 401. I can confirm it's 401.
What number did you say was unlucky?
4.
Right, yeah. 4 and 9 are considered unlucky. Because
I kind of wish it was 409 then. But still, it's 401.
Right? Yeah.
So the fear of number 4
or 444.
Well, that's a lot of apartments on this one floor, to be fair. The fear of the number 4 is shown as known as tetraphobia and is taken seriously in Asian countries, and number 4 is avoided in hospitals, homes, businesses, properties. So they do explicitly show the 401.
In fact, some hospitals and apartments don't have rooms numbered 4 or 9.
So
it's the equivalent of floor 13 in America.
I think 409 would be
better.
But it is interesting because that moment happens after I think that he was mesmered for the first time, or he was something. There's something going on with him.
But also that could just be. This seems like
do you know what? I thought that was after. That was immediately after he's talking to Mimaya, but it's actually not. It's when he's. It's when he's in the apartment and he's seeing all the things, all the weird things. But still, there's definitely a thing happening there. Sorry.
It also could just be
it is after he talks to him in the police station.
Little Easter egg, rather than a full-on. Hey, this is like.
Yeah.
Relevant to
but
the
hey,
plot.
Good. I'm going to go and thumbs up that bit of trivia on IMDb because they aren't talking out of their arse. Other films to watch.
Hey, so there's this movie. If you've never seen it, it's called Seven. No, not a fan.
Do you know what I wrote down?
7.
For something recent that's not 7, I'd go with Long Legs. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. It is
no, it's
actually,
not.
I think it's more similar to Cure than 7 is.
Yeah, 100%. It's more similar to Cure than 7.
Police, procedural, darker forces.
Ambiguity all over the place.
It turns into something else kind of through.
Long Legs is actually a really good show.
A lot of people really like it. It is well directed. I didn't think the story was great in places.
Yeah,
or
it's
maybe Nicolas Cage. I did like Nicolas Cage's performance. I'm sorry, a lot of people did.
You didn't or did?
Didn't. No, I didn't. Wish he wasn't in it.
I liked it up until he turns Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can talk about that in another podcast. To be honest, Long Legs is arguably one of the best picks out of that because they are. It's an American style this movie to a certain extent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a bit more resolution.
Fucking 2 movies with Micah Monroe mentioned. It Follows and Longlegs. So, hey, just go fucking watch Micah Monroe's filmography, except for the Independence Day sequel.
Which I've not seen.
Which I've not seen either.
So I assume your recommendation is 7, or are you gonna?
No, I think to be honest, we've talked a bit about a few different movies. I can't, unfortunately, at the moment, I can't think of anything outside of the US. But I like, It Follows is a good, like, It Follows and Smile aren't this type of movie. I would argue Smile's probably closer.
Yeah.
But Longlegs is that kind of. It has that slower burn. It has that kind of.
I'm a
it
fucking
slowly
genius.
twists. Yeah, he's a fucking genius.
Yes.
Yeah. Put your pipe away.
Yes. Mesmerism. Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say as well. Sorry, I did mention it earlier. Pulse is a film by the same director. He's got a lot of films. One of his titles really caught my eye. It was called Kanagawa Pervert Wars. So I might check that one out at some point.
Bet you would.
Bit of a thing. But Paul, I really like Pulse and you didn't. And the reason that you didn't like it, the reason I did like it, is I think it goes completely off the rails the third act. And that's how you find that as a thing. But it is held up as one of the better J-horror entries. I think that's definitely worth a watch as well.
I mean, it's been a long time since we watched it, so I might actually go back and give it another look.
Yeah. It's got everything. It's got the dark stains, I think, like Dark Forest does it. It's got ghosts and then more ghosts and ghosts. But it's also technology ghosts. It's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I think it's probably dated badly, to be fair, because I think it felt dated when we watched it, which must have been a decade ago, and it's from 2001, and I think it's got, it's a bit...
Yeah. And it's also very difficult. Like, I mean, we've experienced that. We have a group of people that we watch horror movies with, or a lot of different types of movies, but a lot of horror, and it can be really hard going into a movie not knowing what you're going to get because mood really plays a part in how people enjoy movies. Like, we have watched movies that are stellar and not enjoyed them because we're just not in that mood. So it's a really hard thing going into certain movies, because usually when people sit down and say, hey, what do you want to watch? Comedy, horror, like you'll go genre first. You won't just be like, right, here's a random movie, let's go.
We never scored it.
I know, that's what we're about to do right now.
Oh, very good.
So what would you give it?
9.
You don't want to...
I think initially, I think on my first watch I was like 7 maybe, because I wasn't...
Are you chewing a battery?
I'm bouncing it off my lip because I don't have a pipe. Because I was exactly like you just said. I was watching it with someone else. So we were obviously I wasn't fully zoned in on it 100%, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was much more thematic and much less literal. So I came out of it, wasn't sure, had to Google some stuff just because I was like, what the fuck?
Then I took forever to watch it, and it allowed you a second opportunity to watch it.
Yeah. So initially, if we'd recorded that day, I would have been like 7. It was a bit kind of whatever. How many times have we said the word 7 in general?
I know.
The number 7, sorry.
Yeah, not the 7 and 7.
But I let it percolate a bit, went back, I gave it a good bit of time, watched it again, knowing the broad strokes of not exactly what happens, the broad strokes of what may or may not happen, but having the freedom to drink it in a bit, pause it, and because obviously I wasn't taking notes either. I wasn't pausing it.
First time you're watching it start to finish, no notes, let's watch.
Yeah. Whereas the second time I was pausing it, I was going back to re-listen to bits of that, or reread bits of dialogue, or like I went back and looked at Fumi in the toilet and all that shit. That sounded bad, but so I got a lot out of it. I was able to really drink it in, think about what I might believe is happening, what I'm like, I don't know about this, but kind of come up with my own explanations of what might or might not be happening, but also just kind of drinking the vibe, and it is a good vibe, and it's shot really well and everything like that. So I went from 7 to 9.
So weirdly, I think at the start of this podcast, I probably would have given it a 7.
You had to say 7 as well.
I know. Sorry. At the start of this podcast, I think I would have given it somewhere between a 6 and an 8.
Better.
And I think the more we've talked about it, and the more I've like allowed my thoughts to come out and actually process through this, it's an 8. It's not quite a 9. I didn't get quite as much out of it. I didn't take 1,800 words of notes.
Listen, that's not...
No, I know. I'm just... But no, it clearly... I don't mean about you've never done that with any of the other movies in this. It clearly hit something within you, and that's why it's a 9. Like, that's... that's brilliant.
Prostate. Listen, I think maybe give it a few months. Maybe go back and watch it again if you have the pleasure of excess time, which you don't, and no one in this world ever does. But if someone's bugging you to watch it again, you're like, oh fuck, I should rewatch it again. I've kind of forgotten. I won't be able to talk about it. Yeah, watch it again.
No, totally. It might pop up to a 9 then, but it's definitely an 8 for me.
It's strong enough, to be fair.
That's a good... Christ, I'd be happy if the movie I made got an 8.
Listen, I would have been fine if you come on and said you didn't like it. And I know it is easy to interpret the thoughts about ambiguity as being a bit poo-pooey on, literal A to B filmmaking. But it is it's a different vibe, and you might just not fucking like it.
Yeah.
Like how I loved the way Memories of a Murder was filmed and made and was completely deflated by the ending, which I did not realize, I wasn't expecting at all. And maybe I'm thick, but I was just along for the ride, and I was like, So I understand why. I could understand if you didn't like it.
Oh, no, totally. And I as you said, I can understand people coming out of this movie frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, and basically going, well, the last third of that movie, might as well not have happened.
Yeah,
like,
it's a fucking trip. It's a weird trip.
Yeah, but I think it's a really, really well done trip.
Yeah.
Extremely well acted. I highly recommend this movie.
Great. So, where are we going? We're in Japan. We're staying in Japan. And I don't know what we're going to watch next, all right?
Jesus, we're still in Japan!
Listen, there's so many Japanese films. I was like, will we watch Ring? Because I've not watched Ring in about fucking 15, 20 years.
Yeah, same.
I mean, when's the last time I watched Joe and the Grudge? I watched it for the first time with you. That was... a decade ago, 15 years ago. Not watched that since. Loved it. Not watched it since. There's also umpteen other fucking J-horror movies. We've only got to the point where we've not even hit J-horror. Remember?
Yeah, I know.
This is J-horror.
No, I know. This is pre-J-horror.
What have I done? So we're still here, and I don't know. I've not made up my mind what we're going to watch. Maybe I'll just leave it up to luck. I don't know. But anyway.
Just put every J-horror in a wheel and spin it.
Listen, I'm gonna go and buy some soap for my wife. So
that's definitely what that is. And if you haven't seen already, we have also put out our Fright Fest London Halloween episode. That was a lot of fun. Good to have Donald back on that one. And apart from that, wait, Donald? Do you hear dripping?
Bloop, 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 bloop,
bloop. Yes. I'm being hypnotized by the bloops.
Bloop, bloop.
Hopefully, neither of us will have carved a huge X into each other by the time we. Wait, what are you doing with that paint? Donald, get away!